Everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. In case you weren't aware what video you just clicked on, let me enumerate it for you. SCWDEMG6. It's a very, very good start. Decent damage. Not amazing, but decent. A spacebar item that, if I'm being honest, actually has some utility, which I think is somewhat rare, but always appreciated. Spider Bite's great. Of course, as with any run in which we start with Curse of the Unknown, we have kind of one variable for the present moment that we're not really sure how things are going on, and that's our HP. But, you know, assuming we have at least, like, 2 Spirit Hearts, I'm not sweating this run. I feel like this run is starting from ahead of the 8-ball. I mean, behind the 8-ball is when you have an uphill battle in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish. I guess ahead of the 8-ball, but I don't know. That seems weird. Like, I'm not necessarily like a billiards expert or whatever, but I mean, doesn't it depend on your frame of reference whether you're behind the 8-ball or ahead of the 8-ball? You know what I mean? Like, if you were behind the 8-ball, if you banked it off the edge, aren't you now ahead of it? Like, again, I'm not necessarily a superhero when it comes to billiards, nor linguistics, I suppose. I'm just saying. Thought that was that was the idea, is that you could shoot it across the walls or something like that, and a couple of good ricochets, all of a sudden, you know, you're on TSN. Sorry, I should Americanize the joke. You're on ESPN. But if we're being realistic, probably not ESPN1. Suppose Billiards is more of a, it's like a an ESPN, like, 4 jam is my guess. You might be able to see it on ESPN2. There's that classic joke from Dodgeball where, you know, there's ESPN 8, the Ocho, where they play all the weird sports, all the outsider sports, if you will. It was funny, and, you know, not a whole lot about the pandemic is humorous, so bear with me here, but as, like, all the major North American sports were canceled or postponed earlier this year, seeing what the major networks actually put on in their stead was very interesting. You're like, you know, 3 months ago we were watching NBA basketball, NHL hockey, getting ready for the start of the MLB season. Now it's, you know, May. Obviously, it's not May at the time of this recording. It's December. But, you know, I'm putting myself in the mindset. Now it's May, and, you know, we're waking up at 7 a.m. to watch the Lotte Giants play against the Kia Tigers in Korean baseball. I was a Samsung Lions fan. Why? Because they have lion in their name? No, because when I lived in Korea, I lived in Daegu, which was the city where the Samsung Lions played. Thanks for your insinuation, though. Alright, HP is not amazing, but it's good enough for now. I will say, Korea, you know, they've got a great baseball tradition there, if you're into baseball, which I'm not at all. I can't remember how many baseball games I saw when I lived there. I watched a lot of K-League soccer, because the stadium was just a bus ride away, and then it was like, I don't know, maybe like less than $10 a ticket to go see the games, which is really good. But I went to see baseball like maybe once, maybe twice. And I just remember that it was a Saturday, and the game went to like, it was either the 11th or 12th inning. Because, you know, in baseball, if it's tied after the 9th inning, they play another inning, and if it's tied, you know, they, continue ad nauseum. The thing is, like, we stayed there through extra innings, and then at the 12th inning or something like that, maybe the 13th inning, they were like, oh, after 13 innings, it's just a tie. So everybody went home. It's like you waited through overtime, and then they just hit you with an arbitrary tie regardless. I don't know, like, I'm not gonna say that I know the rules of baseball or what the rules of baseball should be like more than the actual baseball league itself. It seems to me like, you know, you would only do extra innings if you were uncomfortable with the concept of a tie to begin with, to watch another hour of baseball after regulation and then just have it end in a tie anyway. It took a lot of the romance of the sport away from me. Also, the concessions closed after the 9th inning, which was even worse because you couldn't even get a hot dog. You know, God help you if you were in the situation where you're like, I'm hungry, but the game ends soon, so let's not leave yet. You know, you're gonna be waiting a bit. I hate to say it, like baseball fans, I know that this is like, let's not call it punching down, but I know that you get this sort of criticism all the time. I remember, I'm trying to think of how many Major League Baseball games I've been to in my entire life. I think the answer is 2. So the first time was in 8th grade. My class took a field trip to Toronto, which I always thought isn't that like the most flattering thing? If you're just someone who lives in Toronto, is that like the rest of Ontario? It's like, hey, it's 8th grade graduation. We're gonna go to the big city. You know, like you must be very flattered. At least I feel like you should be very flattered if you live in Toronto. We're gonna go to medieval times and see a Blue Jays game at the Sky Dome. So anyway, we saw the Blue Jays game at the Sky Dome. I remember it was the Blue Jays against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, who were garbage at that point in time. I had an amazing time that game, but it was not due to the baseball. Then, not to insult it, it was, you know, I was 13 years old, I was hanging out with my friends at a, you know, a real social event, a baseball game. You know, it makes you think like you're Chandler Bing from Friends, like you know, you're getting your first sniff of adulthood. It's intoxicating. Having a couple of sody pops, you know, getting a little crazy. The next time I saw a Major League Baseball game was in, must have been like the summer of 2010. It was again, a Toronto Blue Jays versus, oh, Little Brim, huh? Okay, and there it goes. It was a Toronto Blue Jays versus Boston Red Sox game. I remember having looked forward to it for like weeks in advance. I was like, man, I'm stoked for this baseball game. I haven't been to a baseball game since 8th grade graduation. Around the 6th inning, somewhere around there, I was like, hey, do you guys just want to go? You know, I wasn't the one necessarily steering the bus that's like, hey, let's get out of here, but I was definitely like, I might have been the person who seconded the ascent, you know what I mean? I got nothing against baseball, but I definitely do feel like it's one of those sports. I mean, I played baseball for a long time, and I love video game baseball. Like, I think it's very fun in a video game form, but if you're not into it as a spectator, it can be a little sleepy, you know? I mean, that's probably true for every sport, but either way. I'm not trying to be anti-baseball. At the end of the day, you like what you like. I think there's a lot of potential appeal to baseball. Long season. Without, you know, in the nicest way possible, you can watch the games while also doing something else. In fact, I would recommend that you do so because there's 162 of them per season, which is just insane. And it's very statistics driven, which is, you know, it appeals to me. That being said, I just don't find the actual sport itself the moment-to-moment interactions in the sport itself that exciting. And lest you get offended, I see what everybody writes about hockey all the time. Saw a tweet the other day. It was a poll. Did Michael Jordan have 100 times more influence on culture than Wayne Gretzky? And I was like, are you crazy? Wayne Gretzky is like the most famous person on earth. All of the replies were like, LOL, yes, you don't even have to ask. I was like, what do you... Look, as a human being, I got no opinion on Wayne Gretzky. I don't you know, he's good with the stick. He's got to be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep. As a hockey player, doubtlessly the greatest hockey player of all time, there are people who will tell you Mario Lemieux was better. Mario Lemieux, perhaps at points in his career, flashier, and was indeed beset by illness and injury. Unfortunately, and I mean, this sounds like, you know, tough break, kid. But unfortunately, you know, he's going up against Wayne Gretzky, who did all the things that people think Mario Lemieux could have done, if he didn't have illness and injury. So for me, I put a lot of emphasis on the actually having achieved as opposed to the potential factor. A lot of people will tell you Bobby Orr. I don't necessarily disagree. Probably, you know, the best defenseman of all time. But if you look at the statistics, if you look at the raw nitty-gritty, it's not even close, man. Anyway, that being said, I saw some tweets that were like, well, basketball is 100 times more popular than hockey, so the greatest of all time in basketball is going to be 100 times more popular than the greatest of all time in... By the way, I don't know if we saw our item room on this floor, but either way, I'm getting the heck out of Dodge, because this run is good as is. I was like, I don't think basketball is 100 times more popular than hockey. Don't get me wrong, maybe 20 times? I think basketball is like 100 times more popular than like darts. Okay, let's not do that anymore. That's good. That's good. Redeemed. Anyway, I didn't get into this to be like, you know, who's the best hockey player of all time. I don't really consider it a contest, nor do I think most people do. I think that, you know, it's one of those things where there's like a consensus number one, and then there's also there's like some fringe picks that you could defend, but you know, you should acknowledge, like, yeah, Gretzky's the best in like every statistical category, but like in an alternate universe that could have been Gordie Howe, you know? Anyway, I don't know. We must be good on HP because we just picked up Abaddon, so I know that we're not hurting. Also, you know what? We know that there is a Tears upgrade pill in our rotation, and it's there. Might as well try those. Okay, you know, now we know for the future. And we definitely do not want to pick that up, but it was worth it for the Tears upgrade that didn't actually give us a Tears upgrade, I guess, because we're at the tier cap. Alright. Anyway, how was my weekend? Very astute of you to acknowledge today is a Monday. Thank you. Weekend was good. Definitely take there's options. I almost feel like the only way we could screw this up is by ignoring our HP, so let's pick up a Spirit Heart. It was good. Didn't really get up to much at all. You know, had a dentist appointment, which was I said this on stream and people thought I was I'd lost my mind a little bit. But being at the dentist appointment was actually kind of nice. Don't get me wrong, I love my family. Every moment I spend with my daughter and my wife is precious. Especially given that the baby is still so young, right? You know, this is time that you don't get back. However, I will say, I really felt like this dentist appointment was the first time in a long time I got to just like sit in a chair and not have to take care of another human being. So I kind of I enjoyed it a little bit, you know. Because it's just the three of us, you know. I had to, when we went to the dentist's office, you know, the baby had to come with us. So while I was getting my teeth cleaned, Kate took care of the baby in the car, and while Kate was getting her teeth cleaned, I took care of the baby in the car. But I gotta tell you, during my dentist appointment, I was like, you know, this is kind of like, it's a little relaxing, to be honest. Now, I wouldn't normally consider going to the dentist relaxing. I've never been one of those people who's like freaked out by the dentist. I don't mind the drills or the... Never really minded going to the doctor either. You know, just consider it kind of like a necessary... not even evil, just a necessary part of life, I suppose. But this is probably the first time I genuinely was like, ooh, this is nice. Maybe I could book like, yeah, book an MRI or something like that. Could we just do like, maybe like a recreational root canal or something? What can I do to stay in this chair a little bit longer? That's the kind of stuff you gotta say if you're trying to spin a little anecdote about the dentist's office out into its own like 3-minute bit. It was fine, is the long and the short of the story. That's about it. That's about it. Didn't really get up to too much else this weekend. You know how it goes. Playing some chess. Watched a little bit more of the Queen's Gambit. I think that the Queen's Gambit, I want to be clear, I like it. I do. Also, one of the shows, for sure, where I've been able to be like, wait, I know that actor, that's blank from blank. Like the guy who plays Towns, I was immediately like, that's the guy who looks like Dan from the Man of Medan series, Little Hope, and also, I guess this is the Dark Pictures anthology. Anyway, hold on. I've been mentioning a tweet. Let's see this. This seems like I thought it was a tweet from Hassan. It is not a tweet from Hassan. I don't even know. Like, I don't know how to parse social media. Might do Chad Vice Holiday Edition this week. Who do you want to see on it? Somebody replied, just Northernlion. He's too much of a Chad to share the spotlight, but it'd be fantastic. I think he'd have some amazing advice. I have no idea what that means. I'm gonna be honest. I can make some assumptions about what Chad Vice is. I'm sure that it's some kind of like satirical Twitch show that Hassan runs. Look, I like Hassan. I find him very humorous. I've only played Among Us with him. I don't want to judge too much of his personality based on Among Us, because I was going to be like, he seems a little paranoid. That might just be the spirit of the game that we're playing. Maybe. But I will say I can always tell when Hassan has interacted with one of my tweets, because within the next, like, 60 to 180 minutes, I get dozens of tweet replies that are just like, I don't think I've spent enough time on social media to actually be able to understand what they're saying. And then, like, add in on top of that they're talking on, like, 17 different levels of irony. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I already was behind the 8 ball when it comes to just figuring out what the heck you mean. And now there's, like, you know, 400 different levels of self-awareness that you're filtering it through, too. And I'm like, can you just remove me from this thread? I always appreciate the interaction, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, man, I get a lot of, like, weird replies after that. Like, so I tweeted this weekend, and it was an ill-advised tweet, but it was funny. I tweeted this weekend, so now that the healthcare professionals and politicians are vaccinated, surely the streamers are next? There's a lot of replies from people that I guess have never heard of something humorous before. They're not familiar with the concept of deliberately saying something that doesn't make sense in order, you know, to entertain people, which is understandable. I've watched a lot of Twitch. A lot of people have no concept of entertainment. That's very clear. But I got some replies. Like, I didn't reply to them. I was just, like, kind of flabbergasted, I guess. Like, one of the replies was like, why should we give you the vaccine? You don't even leave your basement. And I was like, is that even an insult? When I was, like, a kid and people wanted to call you a nerd, they were like, you don't leave your mom's basement. And you're like, yeah, idiot, I'm 16. I got no equity. Now, you know, I'm doing okay for myself. I got my own place. They're like, yeah, you're stuck in your own basement. I'm like, I own that. That's equity. That's land. It's not an insult, that's a compliment. Instead of being like, you're stuck in your basement, you should be like, holy crap, this guy's got a basement. He must be crushing it. It's not even an insult at that point. Again, it's just flattering. Anyway, but yeah, Hassan, he either retweeted it or replied like LOL, all lowercase or something like that, and again, I appreciate the interaction. It did also lead to some funny replies, though. Lest you think that I'm, like, not happy to have the interaction, really the take-home message is I'm like, man, this is what his mentions must look like all the time. So if anything, I have appreciation and perhaps also a little bit of sympathy, yeah. So we're going to take Diplopia with us. At this point, we obviously do not need... Okay, it does work. We obviously do not need, wooden nickel. We're good to go. Might do Chad Vice Holiday Edition. What does this mean? What is this? I don't know. There's no words on it. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on. Playing a little bit more chess. Oh, dude, so I was talking about Queen's Gambit, yeah. I don't know, man, like, I don't know if it's my attention span or something. Like, I'm enjoying the Queen's Gambit. But I am also like, man, every episode do be like a whole movie, huh? Like, we were watching an episode, we started an episode before bed the other day, which is like, bedtime is a very precious time for us right now. Like, we gotta hit the same KPIs every day. Like, our key performance indicator for bed is like, can we be in bed by like maybe 10:30? So we started this episode, I don't know, at like 10, thinking it was maybe half an hour long. All of a sudden I realized, like, I think we've been sitting in front of Netflix for like 2 hours. My wife was like, nah, these episodes are only like 40 minutes long at most. I looked at it, we were like 58 minutes into an hour and 12-minute long episode. I'm like, that they should put like a warning on the bumper before the, you know how like when you watch something on TV, it goes like, you know, this show may contain the F word. Don't let your kids watch it unless you want them to grow up to be streamers. If they could do that, but like, you know, this is a content warning. This is not a 24-minute long 3-camera sitcom like Modern Family. Viewer discretion is advised. You might want to like put a sleep timer on the TV or something. You get the idea. You get the idea. You know, the joke is it made itself. Obviously, I'm misrepresenting this for humor's sake. I don't actually think you need, like, it does display the runtime of the episode when you start the episode down on the little progress bar. I'm not necessarily suggesting. I'm just trying to, like, because on the internet, you actually cannot crack a joke unless your joke can stand up to cross-examination. They'll be like, I understand your joke. I also thought it was humorous, but have you considered these 75 problems with the central premise of it? That's my mistake. Can we could schedule an adjournment and we can get back to this cross-examination, say, you know, in April or something like that, when everybody has a little bit more time. So we are going to take this stuff, okay? I don't care about Boss Rush. We can definitely make it, especially with blank card AWAS. But I don't really care for it. I want to get a penny so I can buy the Nightlight. And then I want to keep re-rolling, because I don't want to use Diplopia to get like 2 Nightlights. It doesn't interest me. Alright. Would I Diplopia this? I suppose at this point we get Nun's Habit out of it. We get a Spirit Heart. We get Hierophant, which is actually like way better than AWAS. I think. And Remote Detonator, who cares? Who cares? Nobody. That's all I got, really. In case you were wondering how my weekend went. Couple of things. One is cool dentist appointment. The other one is Queen's Gambit. Good show. Episodes too long? Question mark. And we will explore that over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. I did also watch the season finale of The Mandalorian. You know, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Here's what I will say. If you're concerned about Mandalorian spoilers, and I know that you're gonna be like, this is a spoiler, but just relax, okay? Sometimes you gotta, I don't know. There's got to be a metaphor there. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Here's what I'm going to say. If you're concerned about Mandalorian spoilers, watch the episode, like, as soon as you get a chance to. Because, you know, people are going to be talking about it. People are going to be spoiling it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have to worry about it, like, or, you know what, I understand. I wouldn't maliciously just spoil things just to be an a-hole. And it's only been, like, 3 days since it came out. But it's like, people are going to be spoiling it. Like Mathis made a tweet. There's this website that shall remain nameless. It's kind of like they do nerd journalism, which is fine. You know, let's call it enthusiast press is another way to describe that. You know, when you Google, like, you watch a movie and the post-credits scene, you're like, wait a minute, was that like, you know, J. Jonah Jameson? You Google, like, Spider-Man post-credits scene. This is, like, the website that's going to dominate the SEO search results for that. Have, like, 17 articles the day the movie comes out. Spider-Man post-credits scene explained. Who was that? Was that really who I think it was at the end? What does it mean for, you know, you get the idea. And they just, Mathis was teeing up on them because they basically had, like, a huge spoiler in their title and the picture that goes along with the story. And I'm always, like, it just annoys me so much, because, like, I understand that it sucks to be a blogger online, and I don't even mean that in like a way that's meant to be offensive, like in a learn to code, you know? Like, when I was starting YouTube, the bloggers were like the king, you know? They were on top of the throne of at least for video game press at that point. You know, of course you had like your GameSpots and your IGNs and stuff like that, but also, you know, the blogs had kind of been... And it sounds very old now, because I guess it is dated, but blogs had kind of come along and disrupted the traditional model for media, which was, you know, more expensive established websites and also literal print magazines. And then YouTube has kind of come along and disrupted that a little bit, but... and, you know, the cycle continues. Inevitably, something's going to come along and disrupt YouTube. It might take, you know, 2 years, it might take 20 years, but... Nothing lasts forever, right? Regardless, so you know, like I have a great amount of respect for the fact that like working in so-called, you know, print media, working in written media online kind of sucks. Like there's two ways you make money. One is via advertisements, which makes you beholden to writing stuff that people actually want to read, and perhaps more accurately stuff that people are likely to search for en masse, which is how you end up, you know, writing these like spoiler-rich articles, where you just either anger bait people, like, was this the worst thing ever? And then you know, in the article, it's like, no! Or, alternatively, you get really, really good talent, and then you run a paid subscription-based model, something like, you know, The Athletic is a good example. You know, a lot of sports writers have jumped ship to this website called The Athletic, where I forget how much you pay, but it's like really good sports journalism, but it is locked behind a paywall. You might say that sucks, but it kind of like, you know, it is what it is. Like I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you want good quality content, and you also want no advertisements, and you also want to never have to pay like $1 for it, where do you think is going to come from? You know, people can write out of the goodness of their heart and because they're like interested in a subject, but you're probably going to end up getting lower quality writing for one, and you're also going to get less frequency, and you're also going to end up with, you know, so-called journalists who are way more beholden to you know, getting like freebies from companies or, you know, sponsored deals and so on and so forth. So, you know, something's got to give is all I'm trying to say. But anyway, I find it like so stupid that like the defense that these websites have is like, well, I had to publish the spoiler stuff because you gotta be first to market. You gotta be ahead of the curve. In order to survive, I gotta publish this stuff. Well, yeah, but like then in order to survive, you gotta publish this stuff. But then like the whole point of your website just becomes publishing that stuff and surviving. Like it's... The website serves no purpose at that point except to soak up like internet search traffic for like, you know, who was under the mask? And this is that's not a real spoiler, by the way. I was just coming up with something that, you know, sounded plausible for the situation in hand. So, it's like, I don't know, man. It's weird. I do also understand that, like, if for any, and, you know, again, people might not care. This is not really my area of the industry, so this is secondhand knowledge. But a lot of the, you know, again, so-called print media websites, more aptly, I guess I should refer to them as blogs, but, you know, they were doing okay, you know, probably doing well enough, and then a few years ago, Facebook rolled out their video platform. I guess it was like six years ago now. And then people started posting videos on Facebook, and Facebook started lying. Like, literally just being like, hey, you know that video you posted? It got, like, I don't know, like 100 million views. And then, you know, these platforms were like, whoa, dude. We got to pivot completely to video. And then, like, a few years later, Facebook was like, oh, remember, like, when we said it got, like, 100 million views? It turns out that we counted every time somebody scrolled past the video on Facebook as a view. So, actually, the stats of people who watch more than, like, 3 seconds of it was, like, less than 5% of that. And as a result, like, all these companies that spent so much money pivoting almost exclusively to video, you know, their business model just tanked overnight. Again, I got a sympathy for it. I'm just saying, man. That's it. I don't even have like I don't have a takeaway message. My takeaway message is that I stand with Mathis. Where I'm like, maybe if the only way that your website exists is by making spoiler-rich content. And I know this is like a glass houses situation, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm in the exact opposite boat. It's very flattering to me, but I make like... There's been some pushback on this idea, but I really feel like I make like anti-clickbait. Like my titles always represent exactly what's inside the video, and moreover, like, you know, if I was in the business of making clickbait, this video would not be called, you know, spoilers, The Binding of Isaac, Afterbirth Plus, episode 1890 or something like that, you know? It would be called like, oh my god, earliest mom's knife ever? And even that, I mean, I think there's a difference between... I mean, there are gaming channels on YouTube that do that, you know? A game comes out, and then like 17 minutes later, they have a video on their channel that's like, you know, The Last of Us 2 final boss, and then in the thumbnail, it's like, you know, a world-sundering spoiler or something like that. I kind of feel like, you know, if that's your business model... I mean, I don't care, I'm pretty spoiler agnostic, but... it's pretty crappy. Like, I provide very little value to the world. Mostly, I consider these videos like an opportunity for people to watch and get angry about something sort of like innocent, so that they don't end up taking out the deep-seated aggression that they have on, you know, their friends and family, or coworkers for that matter. So I actually like, I look at my videos almost as a really cheap form of like telehealth therapy. That's a joke. In many ways, it could be perceived as a joke. I don't know if you know what I'm like. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of explaining it. But at some point, if like the only reason you exist is to justify the existence of your content, I'm like, you know, you're like a weird self-serving Ouroboros. Again, maybe this is a glass houses situation. Suffice it to say, Mathis, I agree with you. I think it's real crappy when, you know, a television show comes out and then, like, the morning... especially because, like, the Mandalorian episodes come out on, like, Friday mornings. Or Friday at midnight Eastern or something. You wake up at, like, 7 a.m. and it's like, you won't believe what happened... Mace Windu has skid marks in his underpants? Question mark? And you're like, what the heck? I didn't even know Mace Windu was in this episode. Like, at that point, like, do you have to play by the rules in order to, like, make it work in the business? Or, like, are you just the business at that point that makes other people have to, like, it's a self-propagating monster, you know what I mean? Anyway. I feel like I've talked about absolutely nothing this episode, which is a pretty good, you know, it's apt when you consider the fact that just hanging out inside. I did play on stream yesterday. I played The Game of Life 2. So Hasbro and a software development company worked together to make a faster and more streamlined Game of Life. I am here to tell you, I think Monopoly is not a very good game. You know, you basically just roll and move, and your input with the game pretty much boils down to, like, if I land on property that's unclaimed and I have money, like, the solved move is to buy it in almost every situation. As far as I understand, at least. But the Game of Life is, like, 10 times worse. I played 2 games of it. It's only like $10 on Steam. It's not that expensive, for one. And it actually worked great, but it's like, man, the whole time I was just talking about random stuff. You literally have, like, no... you don't have to pay attention to what your opponents are doing at all. They have no impact on one another. It's like 4 people playing a single-player game in parallel. But anyway, who cares? For now, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe. If if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!